Consider this your trigger warning. The following program is strictly satire and is not meant to be taken seriously. So don't get all butthurt, you liberal snowflakes, just because we skewer your sacred cows and expose all your lies and hypocrisy. Truth hurts, and so does satire. So grab a drink, pull up a chair, and enjoy the show.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. I am John, the host of the Prepared Mind, network. We've got the thepreparedmind.club. That is our flagship website. We have subscribestar.com, another place where you can contribute, sign up as a member there. And we also have, YouTube and then YouTube, and we've got X. We are covering the social media, shall we say, atmosphere with as many signals as we can, because what's our goal? Get everyone out there prepared with food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, and the plan. So it is Sunday night. We call this the zoo. It is Sunday Night Live. Everyone's here live. All those channels I named off, and, good golly, who knows how many more on top of that. I've got a hell of a show, but it's not about the things I want to talk about as much as it's the things you guys want to talk about. It is your show. It is Sunday. There's a super chat button right up there on the other side of the old Christmas watermark in the corner. But yeah, it's your show to pick what you want to talk about. Super chat donations are welcome. And hey, any super chat, $50 or more, keeps the lights on and the tuna fish and the Spam in the pantry. But it also buys an 18-year Scotch, and boy, I got to tell you, Christmas season, family gatherings, it gets better and better. So there's that one to start. And the reason I poured it was, because Darcy T is starting this show off with a $50 PayPal super chat donation. So here's to you, Darcy T, and it's going to be kind of a really interesting topic. Let's do this first, though. Cheers, salut, semper fi, and God bless America. Woo! All right. So Darcy kicks the show off and says, my comment for tonight's zoo is around the meteoric rise of gold and silver prices. I know you talked about it on Friday, but I think it bears repeating. Time out there. Go back and watch the Friday free-for-all special presentation. We really talk about a lot of different topics in a different way. But you can do that later anytime, but it is a good one. That's why Darcy's commenting. So let's continue here with Darcy. She says, gold and silver prices are rising as the dollar is rapidly declining. It's necessary for the globalists to destroy the current monetary system in order to usher in the new one. My question is around the timing. We know that they are heavily manipulating gold and silver, but they won't be able to keep it down forever. Any ideas around that? Also, do you remember when you and Uman talked about $1 million gold to stabilize the economy? Maybe that's what we need to get off the fiat fiasco. Well, there's quite a bit in here to unpack. Everyone else, get lined up with your super chats right up there, and I'll get you on the screen and make you famous. And now to address Darcy's question. Now, we talked at some length about gold and silver, the monetary system, and what's going on in the world. You and I, me, just regular people, typically, what do? What is money? Well, money is what we get paid for our work. And then we go to the store and we buy the things we need. You can buy fuel for your car. You can buy clothes for you and the kids. You buy, food, right? Meats, vegetables, canned goods, prepping items, right? And a dollar buys you so much. Well, this is where we get into trouble. We've all noticed over our lifetimes, but especially since COVID, the amount of inflation. Something used to cost this amount, and then this, and then this, and then this, and then this. That's kind of known as, it's inflation, that's for sure. Hyperinflation is where you go from $1 for a cup of coffee, not just for $2 or $2.50, but $100, right? That's hyperinflation. We're not into that zone yet, nor do I want us to get there. And actually, I do not think we will get to hyperinflation. I think before that happens, we're going to have a monetary reset. Hopefully, we get a fiscal spending reset from the government, and we're going to get some sort of economic impact that's going to, well, reset a lot of systems here. But yeah, gold and silver prices are rising, and the dollar is rapidly declining in value and purchasing power. And it's reflected strongly in both silver and gold, because silver and gold used to be the money we used on a daily basis. Our money used to be backed by something precious. Now it's backed by the full faith and credit of the United States. Have you listened to Washington, D.C. over the last 20, 30 years? Is there anywhere in Washington, D.C. you could put your full faith or trust the credit from those people? No, right? So typically when as the dollar's purchasing power goes down, the value of precious metals, real money, gold and silver, goes up, right? Because the value is lower and it costs more and more and more to get gold and silver out of the ground. Because, well, the cost of labor, the cost of fuel, the cost of equipment, the cost of parts, etc. But there's something else that is in play that has not been in play as of yet in the United States of America, right? And so I want to address this other question. Darcy says, we know that they're heavily manipulating gold and silver, but they won't ever be able to keep it down forever. Any ideas around that? Well, they do want to keep the price of gold and silver down. The reason is it gives the appearance that the dollar is a strong purchasing currency. It is stable. It is not going anywhere. Now, compared to all the other currencies around the world, the yen, the pound, the euro, the dollar is still the prettiest pig in the pig pen. But it is losing value. As inflation goes up, the dollar's value goes down. So they're heavily manipulating gold and silver. And we go, well, how do you establish the value of gold and silver? What is the price discovery mechanism and market for it? It's not at our gold shops and silver coin stores or anything like that. No, it is in this thing called the COMEX, Commodities Exchange, where they trade future contracts. And then over in London, there's the London Bullion Market Association, the LBMA. And that's where the spot price is at. Okay, so the spot price is set in the COMEX, and deliveries are made out of London. If you want to buy the physical, like banks, central banks, large investment firms like JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs or any of those, Bank of America, big banks, right? HSBC, et cetera, they want it, they'll buy it in bulk there. Same with other institutions. A little cerveza sneeze there. Yeah. Other institutions like manufacturing, high-tech, jewelry firms, they'll buy it. But here's the deal, right? Let's just say there's 100 million ounces of silver available to purchase on the COMEX based on the physical reserves that they have. Well, they don't have, contracts to equally match the amount of silver. Contracts equals the silver. That's not how it works. There's a lot of discussion, a lot of argument, a lot of hand-wringing and guessing, but the best guesses are for every one contract of silver, let me take that back, every 1 unit of silver, which is a 1,000-ounce bar, there is somewhere between 100 contracts and 300 contracts. In other words, there's way more paper than silver, and there's way more paper contracts for the gold than there's actually the gold sitting in the vaults. That is where the problem lies. Every time the price starts running a little too far, a little too fast, the LBMA, the COMEX, or whatever trading floor is at, they can just throw some more paper contracts out there and supply the demand for paper, and it tamps the price down. Problem there is people aren't just trading paper back and forth. They want the physical more than ever. And this is where we get to the timing question that Darcy asks. Her question is around the timing. The timing is bad for the COMEX. The timing is bad for the LBMA. The timing is bad for central banks. The Bank for International Settlement. The timing is awful. It couldn't be worse, because the problem didn't start just last week, last month, or even last year. It was years ago. Years ago, we learned that banks want their gold. Central banks want their gold. Large families want their gold. Nations want their gold back. Italy just this weekend, told the European Union they want their $300 billion in gold back. They want it back. And the European Union advised them, oh, no, you don't want to do that. You could destabilize the economy, the European Union, the value of the euro itself. Well, the European Union doesn't give a fuck about the nations. It doesn't give a shit about anything except its own power and introducing people from third world shitholes and destroying Europe. Now, back to gold and silver. So we have all of this paper contracts and only a little bit of precious metals because, well, there used to be a lot more. I mean, there's always way more paper because they use that to control the price. But the amount of metals has been disappearing. Silver is consumed. It's not taken and put in a vault the way the gold is. It's consumed in industry, solar panels, computer chips, phones, the medical industry. Of course, the military industrial complex goes through an awful lot of silver. And they're coming up with more and more and more places that silver is the one definable metal that does it, that gets the job done. Nothing else suffices. So there's a shortage of silver, literally shortage. We need 1 billion ounces a year to get, that's what gets consumed through industry, military, medical, batteries, whatever. But the world only produces 800 million ounces. So there's a deficit, and you can't just turn dials and get more out of the ground. So here's where we're at. Countries know the dollar's failing. Countries don't believe in America. Look what Biden did to Russia. He froze their assets in T-bills, treasury bills, treasury bonds. He fucked it all up for everybody. So everyone's like, hey, we want our gold instead. Right? We're going to start buying gold. We're going to buy gold, buying gold, buying gold. All these nations are buying gold. They don't want treasuries anymore. So treasuries holdings are going down and gold is going up. Now with silver, industry, China is a huge manufacturing hub on the planet. No arguing there. They need the silver. Other countries are taking the silver. India is consuming silver big time. Russia, same. And now Saudi Arabia. Other Middle Eastern, very wealthy nations are taking silver as well and holding it. And it's starting to happen in Europe, in fact, around the world. So your question is the timing. As the fiat US dollar starts to nosedive because of mismanagement of funds through our very poor management, right? We've gone from $500 billion, $500 billion in debt. We're over 38 trillion now with a T. Right? It looks like a freaking hockey stick. The debt was going sideways and then bam, it's gone straight up and it's getting steeper and steeper. So confidence in the dollar is down. Its purchasing power is going down. Countries want the gold. Countries want the silver. They don't have enough, but they're trying to use a bunch of paper to price it down, make it look unlovable. In fact, this weekend, Bloomberg and several others sellout experts, and they know who they are, have been saying, oh, there's no problem in silver. There's no problem in silver. When over Thanksgiving weekend, they kind of ran out in a way. It kind of needed some more for delivery. In other words, yeah, people are buying these contracts, but demanding the silver, not just sending the contracts back for cash. There's a lot of confusion, concern, an incredible amount of lies that when combined with just the average person's ignorance of how the market works, it makes it super difficult for us. How are we supposed to know? That's what they want. But the problem is real. The problem is structural. The problem is banking. The problem has to do with credit. It has to do with the issuance of currency. We're going there, right? They're not going to be able to keep it down forever, right? Small nations like Poland, are buying gold. I already described Italy as it wants its gold back. Germany asked for its gold back from, well, the New York Fed almost 10 years ago. And they got it. Everyone wants whatever is theirs in their possession. You don't hold it, you don't own it. So what this is doing is it's showing the rest of the world, once they start paying attention, right? Over the last year, silver, just over this year, 2025, silver has increased in value relative to the US dollar 98%. It is nearly doubled. Gold is up tremendously as well. Gold is up close to, I think it's 80%. It is incredible. It is also alarming. And that is with their full-on effort to keep the price down, right? Now, how do we fix the problem is the crazy thing. Well, a lot of people have said, well, here's what you do. You revalue the price of gold. Currently on the books, the United States government has 8,300 tons of gold marked to market at $42 back in 1973. $42. Well, it is 100 times higher currently. It's $4,200, not 42. So if they market to market and they bring it up to, say, $4,200, well, that only creates $800 billion in value. They could use that gold as a type of collateral, a type of payment. That doesn't solve our problem, 800 billion, when our debt is 38 trillion. So the idea, the thought was, why not just make gold $1 million? Well, right? That would solve all of our problems. The government would not have to borrow a nickel, not a penny, from the Federal Reserve Bank. We could operate on gold at $1 million. And they could pay all their bills for several years. And, well, the tax receipts could pay that 38 trillion down. So the government would become liquid, wealthy. Our treasury would actually be a treasury. But they're not going to do that. They're not going to go to $1 million. Some more conservative experts say, well, if 4,200 only gets us 800 billion, well, why not do 10,000 an ounce? Other experts, and I think Jim Rickards says anywhere from 15 to 25. Other experts say 50. It's going to go to 40. It's going to go to 70. Right? We don't know. We don't know if they're going to actually revalue gold or if they're just going to allow it to run real fast up the charts. We just don't. Now, it's a very complicated topic. They're running out of gold, not as bad as they're running out of silver. The charts all show cup and handle formations for gold and silver. And it's a rather technical item, but it's a technical item based on not just market reactions and market movements, but rather the health of an economy and the health of a currency. Fiat currencies, which our dollar is, it's based on, well, the full faith and credit of the U.S. Well, that faith goes down. It literally goes down. People don't trust it, so it takes more dollars to buy. They just print all they want. So here we are. They can't keep the price down on gold and silver because there's a legitimate physical shortage, and an extremely high demand. That's why gold has nearly doubled and silver has doubled. Do we know what it's going to do from here? The charts, history, the current events, monetary crisis, the loss of confidence in the United States, in the dollar, in a fair playing field for other countries. All of these things are going to contribute, in my opinion, to a massive, massive, massive move in the price of gold and silver up. Which one goes first is typically gold. When it's too expensive, people run to silver because, you know, it's not poor man's gold. It is an average man's currency. Right? $1 silver dollar, 1 ounce. 1 ounce of gold is $20. That was the old system. Well, now silver is $60. Gold is $4,200. What happens typically is gold goes up, and it'll go up. In the last 2 times this has occurred, or a monetary and financial crunch, gold has gone up 25 times. So it depends on the charts and how you look at things. Other people say, yeah, from the low to the high, it was 25, but from the bear market back to bull to the peak, it was only 8 times. You know, but where do you start? Where do you stop the charts? Gold could easily, in a matter of months, go up thousands of dollars. Silver, in a matter of months, can go up to $100, $200, $300 an ounce. We don't know. Nobody knows. The people trying to control the market keep a lid on it. They don't want it to run away. But as long as they keep the price nice and low where it's at now, well, for me and you, it probably sounds high. But for them, it's low because they know it should be higher. They know gold should be $6,000, $8,000, $10,000, $12,000 an ounce. Not in a year, but last year. And so they're buying the pudding out of it. They know it's going to move. And that is causing a lot of concern. Silver, they're buying it off the market because they don't want it to get too expensive. But by keeping it cheap, here's the issue. You keep silver down where it was at. I mean, just at the beginning of the year, it was $30 an ounce, under 30. It was literally under 30, and now it is sitting just below 60. Right? As long as it's cheap, nations like India, China, Russia, they're going to buy massive and stand. It's called standing for delivery. They're gonna bet on the paper contracts and then take the contract to the other bank and say, give us the physical. It's getting so tight now, there's concerns that they're not going to make deliveries. If you've got a contract that says you owe me $100 million in silver, and I ask you for it, and you say, well, I don't have it. Now everyone loses confidence in those paper contracts sold through the COMEX or COMEX. There's going to need to be another institution that can set a legitimate physical price for gold and silver. And yes, they did have delivery issues a few months ago, and they managed to scrounge up some extra metal, and they're going through it like crazy. It is a wild topic. It is a wild topic. Stabilizing the economy, they're going to try it. How they're going to do it is anybody's guess, because the reason I say that is there's lots of different ideas out there. But the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and another couple dozen countries have set up a currency exchange system so they can pay each other and not have to worry about the value and credit worthiness of the US dollar. I don't know what's going to stabilize everything, but we're going to go through a great reset. It is going to be a fiasco, but what the world wants is a currency, a unit of exchange, dollar, yen, yuan, ruble, whatever you want to call it, that is backed by gold, or at least the payment is convertible to gold. So if you don't trust the currency, you can demand the gold instead. Say, let's just say China is owed $1 billion by India because China's been sending goods to India. And so China says to India, okay, we don't really want your rupee we want $1 billion in gold. And they'll transfer it in the vault over to China's side. That's going to stabilize the economy because now we have a trustworthy means for international commerce to take place. Right? You don't have to worry about, well, the United States just scribbles on a piece of paper, $5 trillion and sends it over to China and says, yeah, there's your money. All they did was just write some numbers on a piece of paper and give it to them. They don't want that. They want to make sure that they've got something real, and that's gold. Gold is for nations. If you trust the dollar, you stay in it. If you don't trust the government, and let's just say on January 1st of 2025, you had bought $1,000 in silver. Today, essentially, you are right at $2,000. You didn't have to do anything. All you had to do was go to SD Bullion or Miles Franklin or your local coin store and buy your own silver or your own gold. And you made a bunch of money. Or you could say you protected your purchasing power. Inflation this year was 3%, 3.5%, or was it more like 10%? Well, silver went up 100% because it was already undervalued. It is in huge demand. There's a supply shortage, and it's real money. So if you were able to buy some, congratulations, and it's going to get a lot crazier. So great topic. I want to thank you for that, Darcy T. And I wish there was a fast way to talk about it. But all I can do is give you kind of my layman's perspective on what's happening. But I do listen to the experts, well, as much as I can, because it's that important. In order to buy food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, you have to something to buy it with. Right? And if you keep your money in a bank, that bank could fail. The currency could take a nosedive. Inflation could go off the charts. The president could come out and devalue the dollar by 50%. Well, other presidents have done that to greater and lesser degrees. They don't just come out and go, hey, your 100,000 is now only worth 50,000. They came out and said, well, a gold coin is no longer worth $20. Gold coin is worth $35. Now it's worth $42. So your dollar, gold went up, meaning your dollar bought less. They revalue the currency, and we get stuck with huge inflation. The 1970s were hugely inflationary, while the world tried to find what Darcy refers to as stabilization of the economy. And the only way we're going to get off a fiat fiasco, I don't believe we're going to go to a gold and silver standard, but I do believe we're going to have a hard currency backed system to stabilize things. But it's too bad that the currency isn't the only problem. We have currency issues. We've got economic issues, which is farming, manufacturing, employment numbers. We have education issues, military issues, social issues, fucking immigration issues, as we all know. Right? We've got legal issues, meaning the judges think they run the country. We've got political issues galore. It is a nightmare. I tell you. All right, Mr. Uman, Chin Music has checked in. As soon as we get his super chat, we'll get to him. But for now, I think we've got a lot of other topics to talk about. So let's get to it. I've got a full board. You guys have got a full board. And on the board is Northern Tyke with a $10 super chat donation. He says, Jumpstart, how long must this go on? Free Tina Peters. Arrest the state Secretary of State, I believe, and office holders under 18 USC section 115. Treason, sedition, and subversive activities. Also for the jab. What you think? Well, Mr. Pike, let's start with free Tina Peters. If everyone know who Tina Peters is? Yeah, she's a nice old lady. She's actually a gold star mom, meaning huge sacrifice there. Well, she was working She was working in the election system in the state of Colorado. She discovered irregularities. Let's just call it cheating. It makes it a lot easier to understand. The Democrats cheated their freaking asses off in Colorado. Well, Tina Peters caught it, saw it, noted it, and needed to expose it. So in her effort to do so, she was, by the Democrats, arrested. Because by the letter of the law, she didn't do it quite right. In court, she was denied. Let me say this again. She was denied the right to present evidence to defend herself. That right there is unconstitutional. It's unlawful. And it flies right into the wheelhouse of the Declaration of Independence. Why the people decided to take up arms and start shooting the English and stacking them like cords of wood. See what I'm saying here? So they've got Tina Peters in jail. But the spirit of the law is someone broke the law, you told on them, you recorded, made sure the information, the evidence of criminal activity is not destroyed, which is exactly what the Secretary of State and the entire state of Colorado is up to. It is a complete coup d'etat of the election of that state, and it is being run by a bunch of lawless communist rats. And a big percentage of our country is being held in a cesspool of corruption. California, Oregon, Washington, Arizona right now with that fat slob Katie Hobbs, Colorado, it's a pile of crap. Down in Georgia, right? North Carolina was a bitch. Well, of course, Michigan, Minnesota, and Wisconsin, they're all awful. Pennsylvania, cheating everywhere they can, the Democrats. But for what they've done as the government, whether it's the governor, the Secretary of State, that Jenna Griswold looking freak, the judges there, they've all participated knowingly, willingly, together in a conspiracy to violate 18 USC section 115. They are all acting treasonously, seditiously, and subversive. The subversive, and this is a federal code of regulations, CFR, right? Or USC, I'm sorry, United States Code. They violated the law. They should be arrested. Where's Pam Bondi? We get to the what you think, John. Where's Pam Bondi? Where's Kash Patel? Now, I know Trump from time to time says, this is treason. That's a crime. That's fraud. This is wrong, right? And he points out all these things and says, they should be arrested. 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 And no one gets arrested. Why not? Why isn't Pam Bondi arresting people? Why isn't Kash Patel arresting people? Why hasn't Trump given a blanket pardon to Tina Peters? Why hasn't Trump taken Tina Peters from Colorado by force with U.S. Marshals and the assistance of National Guard to take her out of their state jail where she's being psychologically and physically abused and also denied proper care and treatment as a prisoner, and put her in a federal institution, if not just letting her go once they send her to a hospital and make sure she's not going to die from the injuries received? Neglect, my friends, is abuse. And Tina Peters is a nice old lady trying to do her job, follow the Constitution, and she's been arrested for it. And here's the sick part. She's been held in prison over 4 years because it was right after the 2020 election that they threw her in jail. Trump has been fucking president for 11 months, over 11 months, or right at 11 months. And why hasn't he freed her? Extremely frustrating to the max. Extremely frustrating to the max, because he could have done something and he hasn't. Okay, let's do this. Mr. Uman, who's next on it? And thank you, Northern Pike. Who's next on the Prepared Mind channel? And it's Jay Miskinnis with a $2 super sticker. Thank you, Mr. Miskinnis. And he says, hey, The Manhattan Project used an unbelievable amount of silver based on a documentary that I watched. Mostly for the coils needed for the electromagnets. Now, I am very familiar with this story, this idea, this concept. So the idea was the Manhattan Project, folks, is where they invented the atomic bomb. Now we have nuclear bombs. Apparently, one is better than the other. The first bomb, atomic bomb. The Manhattan Project was a super duper secret project. But what they needed was an incredible amount of silver. An incredible amount of silver. The government was already pulling silver right out of circulation. Right? They gobbled up all the silver they could. Thank God for the Comstock mine in Virginia City, Nevada, huh? Anyways, it was literally a cosmically unbelievable amount of silver to make the equipment, the industrial equipment, to make centrifuges and everything there was for creating this weapons system. Well, they ended up not needing it. And so they turned all that silver, or shall we say most of it, over, and it was used by the United States Mint. All of that equipment that was built out of silver was melted down and cast, and they created, well, what's known now as the Silver Eagle. Right? The government used silver from the Manhattan Project to create the Silver Eagle program to sell silver coins to Americans starting in the mid-1980s. And they've slowly used that silver. And well, now they've run out. Now the mint, the U.S. Mint, has to go into the open market and buy it, buy the silver, and then mint coins out of it. So from what I understand, Mr. Miskinnis, that silver has been consumed and it is gone. So any need for silver by our mint or any other mint around the world, they've got to go to what? The LBMA for delivery, or they've got to contract with private refiners, or they've got to go to the mines themselves and contract for delivery directly from the mine. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they need a lot of silver. And that's just the mints. Well, what about solar panels? Yes, they need silver. Batteries, electronics, computer chips, phones, medical equipment. Everything takes silver. Oh, yeah. So do nuclear reactors, right? We're talking about Manhattan Project and atomic bombs. Yeah. Silver has principles, fundamental electrical principles that make it irreplaceable. Irreplaceable. It conducts heat. It's very reflective. It handles a lot of electricity. It is extremely stable. It takes, very little silver to do what would take a lot of copper or some other metal to do. So yes, silver, folks, this is a reason why it is gone. The government coughed up this unbelievable amount of silver, and it's been consumed and taken by investors, by other countries, right? They want silver for their purposes. It's no longer just a coin, if you will. But this huge demand for nuclear energy is also going to put a strain on the silver market. I believe that this is by far the most reliable, safest investment anyone could make. That's not investment advice, but that's just my opinion. Because it is in short supply. The demand is so huge. It's inelastic, meaning you can't produce more silver. And people go, well, what if the economy slows down? It's like, well, really? If the economy slows down, then they mine a lot less copper, zinc, lead, gold, well, not gold, but other materials. And most silver comes from the mining of base metals, copper, lead, zinc, etc. Silver is a byproduct. So if the economy slows down, those slow down and they produce less silver anyways. So as the economy goes up and down, the supply of silver goes up and down to match it. All right. Uman, by the way, we've got Mr. Wiley. Mr. Wiley has done a $10 Venmo super chat. So keep an eye out for Mr. Wiley's question out there. All right. Thank you, Mr. Miskinnis. And yes, Houston, we got a lot of problems in this country and the whole world. All right, man, who's Beck? Who's next on the Prepared Mind channel? Sunday Night Live. It is the Zoo, and it is Big Dan the Man Erickson with a $5 kapow super chat. And he says, hey, bought 8 ounces of gold at $18.50 an ounce. Also have 1 ounce silver bars at $30 an ounce. There you go. $3,000 is now nearly $6,000. 8 ounces of gold at $18.50. Well, I got to do some math here. Let's see, 2, 16, 14. You're going from about 14,000 all the way up to 25,000. Not a bad move. That was some quick mental math there. But yeah, I'm telling you, it's a safe place to put your money, to store purchasing power. This is a 1 ounce silver round. This is not a sovereign minted coin. It is a privately minted round. It just happens to have the anchor, globe, and eagle on it. In any event, thank you, Big Dan the Man. I'm glad you purchased when you did, but hang on to that stuff. Do not go put it in a bank. Don't put it in a bank deposit box. I'm sure you, like many people, have access to a safe or what's known as a midnight gardening, where you go out and you bury stuff in a place where no one knows, no one sees, no one needs to understand. I prefer to have the little amount I have protected by very large military guys with guns. And that seems to help me sleep well at night. I don't have that much, though. I wish I had what Big Dan has there. But hey, we all just take care of what we got. Mr. Ooman, who's next on the Prepared Mind channel, Sunday Night Live? It is our good friend Nancy Cage checking in with a $20 super chat donation. And she says, for the Prepared Mind family, Semper Fi, John, your topic of choice. Well. Then where do we go here? I don't know. I've got some topics here. Let's see. I'm going to go with this one. A Clinton judge. Clinton judge. We talked about treason earlier in that United States Code section. Treason. Well, a Clinton judge has blocked government prosecutors from getting their hands on key evidence in the case against James Comey, former FBI director. Right? He called for, 86-47. That's a direct threat on the president of the United States of America. That's calling for assassination. In addition to that, he played every bit part and parcel to the Steele dossier, lie, bullshit, Russia collusion hoax in an effort to have a coup d'etat against Trump in his first term, complete violation of laws, conspiracy, etc. But hey, let's just have a judge keep prosecutors from getting access to evidence being held against James Comey that the government already has. Well, the upshot here? Well, James Comey isn't going to be arrested and locked in prison anytime soon. But the other part of the upshot is we know that judges are now the law. Kind of like Judge Dredd. It was Sylvester Stallone played Judge Dredd, a comic book guy who wasn't just a judge, but he was law enforcement, judge, jury, and executioner. Right? One of the lines in the movie is, "I am the law." Right? The Stallone style. Judges are treating themselves like they are the law. They're letting traitors like Comey go. They're prosecuting regular patriots, like the January 6th patriots or Tina Peters. Now, the upshot, meaning we, the American people, all know and we believe that these judges need to be arrested, disbarred, and thrown in jail for treason, conspiracy, contempt, violation of orders, interference with constitutional duties, etc. And the solution's been proven to work. Proven to work. Just ask the people of El Salvador. Because their president, President Bukele, removed the judges and impeached them, disbarred them, and I'm sure if they committed crimes, they're in jail. And now they decided that they like safety. And they now have safety. Their country's safe. Crime is way down because, well, corrupt judges are now removed, gone. So how do we fix our system? Well, yes, yes, and yes on arresting the bad guys. Now, just before the show, Uman and I were having a little chit chat about, well, upholding the law. You can't just go and arrest people, John. Well, the Democrats showed us that you can just go and arrest people. They just went and decided to arrest Trump on plastic banana, bullshit, good time, rock and roll, Persian Bazaar charges of nothing. And they arrested him. And then they tried him. Trump was in court. And then they found him guilty 34 times for the act of committing no crime. 34 felony convictions for nothing. Isn't that incredible? I mean, it doesn't make any fucking sense, does it? He was found guilty of 34 counts of doing nothing wrong. That's a fucking head scratcher. Essentially, they arrest him for nothing, they prosecute him for nothing, they find him guilty of nothing. Fortunately, they couldn't throw him in jail for nothing. But having said that, all of the January 6th protesters arrested for what? For trespassing on Congress and Capitol Hill. No, they were invited in. Well, what about all the destruction and damage? It was done by agents provocateur. We now know we had 274 FBI. That's law enforcement, government law enforcement, lying pieces of shit who participated and ever since then have been hiding behind their anonymity, pretending like, oh, no, that wasn't us. That wasn't us. Yeah, it was you fucking guys. Christopher Wray lied about it. Kash Patel knew about it. I have no doubts. They have violated the law, the Democrats. They have set precedent that it's okay if you're in power and you're the government, you can arrest whoever you want, you can manufacture charges, you can plant evidence, you can deny someone the ability to defend themselves in court. You can throw them in jail and throw the fucking key away and starve them, beat them, abuse them, make them sick, and fucking kill them. Now, do I think that we, good, real, wholesome, law-abiding Americans, should ask for that? My answer is no. I do not believe we should do what the Democrats have done. It's stupid. It's lawless. It's chaotic. It's anarchic. It's bad. What I do believe is if they've committed a crime, you arrest them. And we have evidence of all the crimes. Everyone on the Epstein client list, criminal. They can be arrested. They can be arraigned. They can set bail. And they can establish the court dates. And then they can start trying them. Epstein files. Everyone involved in the Russia Steele dossier case. That's Comey, Hillary, Peter Strzok, all this little scumbags, the Clintons, the Schumers, the Obamas, everybody. Susan Rice, Eric Holder, everybody that was involved. Every fucking buddy. Everybody. Ruby Rod Rosenstein, Christopher Wray of the FBI. Lock them up. All of these judges, from Bo Asberg to Engoron to Judge Chutkin, all of these piece of shit. Jack Smith, the fucking unlawful prosecutor, right? Even Letitia James, who has had all of her charges thrown out, even though she is right on paper committing fraud, mortgage fraud, serious crimes. Right? There's serious civil crimes, and yeah, that's a civil crime. It's crime nonetheless. Then there is, criminal crimes, bad crimes, right? Like treason, sedition, conspiracy, violating the rights of Americans. All of this Five Eyes bullshit. The CIA, Brennan, Clapper, those fucking clowns and all of their stooges need to be arrested. But it's not just arresting them as political persecution. It's not just making shit up on the fly, or I think you did something. They have the evidence already. Can you imagine the support Trump would have if he'd gone through and just fucking started arresting these people? Ilhan Omar needs to be arrested, denaturalized. And here's your choice, bitch. You want to go back to Somalia and stay the fuck out of our country forever? This is, of course, having all of your money taken back from you that you've stolen. Or do you just want to stay in the American penal system and go to prison the rest of your life? You bald-headed Somalian bitch. All of BLM's leadership needs to be arrested. Antifa is a terror organization. They're copying a plea and admitting they're terrorists in court because a few have now been arrested. The whole organization, they need to do SWAT-style raids at every college campus. They know who they are. They know who they are. That's my answer to that. Anyways, Nancy, thank you for the great super chat. That's where we're at. They need to be arrested. It's not lawlessness. It's not making the law up. It's not political retribution. It's you committed crimes. You locked people up. You tried taking over the government. You tried cheating in the election. And folks, I think there's room in prison for, well, at least half of Congress, including the Speaker of the House and the Senate leader, as well as the Democrat minority leader. Hakeem Discount Dollar Store, Obama, that guy, all of them. All of these evil, rotten, thieving pieces of shit need to be arrested. I don't care. We can have elections and elect more of them. But elections need to be same day, paper ballots, show an ID. If I can't go onto a school campus, okay, we'll do, man, we'll do. You can't go on into a children's play without pulling an ID out and showing the school that you have kids there and you belong. It's crazy. The whole thing is fucking nuts. All right, let's do it. Let's have some fun here. Mr. Uman, who's up next? And Northern Pike with a $2 super chat. He's back. He says, lipstick, dollar, pigs, garbage, Minnesota, and head jobs. Well, satire. I really appreciate. I try making things as humorous, lively, and energetic as possible, Northern Pike, and I appreciate the fact that you like that. Lipstick. Lipstick goes on pigs. The dollar, we discussed the dollar and its value. Pigs. That's a wide open topic there. Pigs. Well, they're good for bacon. Muslims don't like them. And I believe BlackRock owns all of our meat processing plants, but I'm pretty sure that China owns a good percentage of them also. As far as garbage goes, that would be our friends, the Indians that have immigrated into this country and, of course, all across Europe. And they just believe throwing trash wherever they want is the way to go. Not only that, they like to bitch and complain about this country. I say we send all these H-1B or HB-1 or whatever the fuck their numbers and letters are. Just send them back to their country. Get them out. Go back to India. Go back to Pakistan. Everyone who is not an American, natural-born citizen, you're out. As far as Minnesota goes, that's the Somalians. These people are actual scumbags. Trump even called Ilhan Omar herself garbage, along with the rest of the Somali population, over half of which is on some form of welfare. Food stamps, EBT, getting subsidized housing, whatever. It's just a mess. It's a whole mess. Anyways, thank you, Northern Pike, for that great $2 super chat. And let's continue. Holy bananas, we're almost halfway through tonight's show. So I got to tell you, as long as we've got super chats, we got questions and comments, we will talk. And now it's time to talk about what Robin wants to talk about. And she's doing a $50 super chat donation, which means I get an 18-year Glenfiddich Scotch single malt deliciousness. And I go through quite a bit of this stuff, if you can imagine. Yes, it's medicine from the old days, folks. It's a stimulant. It is a sedative. It is a painkiller. It is an antiseptic. And it's what do you call that? Antidepressant or a depressant. Helps you relax. Woo! Thank you, Robin. All right. This is what Robin has to say. She says, Lily Gaddis talked about options should our empire fall. One of her thoughts was to pack up and ship out like the explorers who brought us here. Steve says it best, row till you call it home. Well, there's no option here but to stay and fight for home. Yeah, there's nowhere else to go. There really isn't. I would love to be able to pack up and ship out if there was another place to go, a better place to go, if there was any place to go, there's not. Europe moved west to the Americas. North America predominantly, but also Portugal and the Spaniards really colonized Central and South America. But France, England took North America, Mexico, the United States, and Canada. But it was heavily populated with more than the English or the French or the Spanish. It was also the Dutch, the German, the Swedes, the Scots, the Irish, etc. Now, we've got nowhere else to go. People landed on the east coast of America, and they migrated to the west, all the way, hit the west coast. But what's on the other side of the ocean? Well, Japan, China, right? There's nowhere else to go. As you say, Robin, there's no option but to stay and fight. By the way, other countries won't let you in. They'll take your money. They'll let you buy citizenship, I guess, but you won't be able to escape what is coming, what is happening. I thought about it. I thought, I could go back to the RMZ. I could go down and just live in the jungle, fighting off chickens and invisible monsters that attack at night. No, there's nowhere really to go. The whole world relies on the whole world, right? Like the United States of America can take a nationalist, protectivist stance. America first. But America can't exist without the rest of the world. So we need to all behave and get along, cooperate, share, and play fair. And of course, governments don't want to do that, right? They're causing fights. They're arguing. The United States wants to be in charge. Well, the rest of the world doesn't trust the U.S. after all the bullshit that's been going on. The monetary system is collapsing. Typically a fiat currency like we have now, based on not gold or anything solid, only lasts 35, 40 years. Well, we're now over 50 years old, the U.S. dollar. And so it is long past due. They've been doing everything they can to keep it alive. Can't be fixed. We're having our problems. The rest of the world is having problems. They're coming up with a new trade system. We all need to work together and trade together. There's no place to run to. It's not like we can just go live on Mars or live on the moon, if there is any such thing. Right? All good stuff, though. Anyways, Robin, our option, stay, plant your feet, and fight it out. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, and your plan, being prepared, being a patriot, being an American first and foremost, taking care of yourself, your family, your neighborhood, and community. There's you, and then there's 10 miles around you. You need to know what's in that 10-mile radius, the type of people, the type of resources. Is there food available? Is there water available? What are the people going to do? Is the federal government close? Is it state government? Is there military around? Are you close to another country? All of these things you need to take into consideration and just go, okay, if they were to turn off the power, stop delivering gas, no police, no government, no stoplights, what do you do? How bad's it going to get? How long will it stay that way? And can you make it from sunrise to sunup, back to sunrise again and again and again, and live while they figure out their problems? That's what being prepared is about. There will be people losing their shit. There are going to be violent groups that think they own this country, like the Somalians, who are Muslims, the rest of the ridiculous Muslim population. We've got other countries that think they own America because they've paid off politicians. We've got politicians that, well, they'll do anything they're told because they've been paid off, or they're pedophiles and they don't want to be exposed and arrested for it. There's an awful lot of stuff going on, folks. I hope you are paying attention and you are prepared. Share that internet address. Share it, share it, share it. Whatever platform you're on, YouTube, X, Facebook, doesn't matter. Share the internet address to this video so people can wake up. This is turning out to be quite a gem of a broadcast. There is a lot going on, and people need to wake up. And also find in the search last Friday's video. It was recorded live on the 5th. It came out on the 6th, I think, for regular YouTube, but it's the Friday special. We really cover these topics. People need to be prepared and be mentally prepared for what the potentials are that are coming. Nothing but evil out there, folks, in other governments, in our government, in business, in banking. They don't care about you and me anymore. All they're doing is robbing the system and taking the money for themselves, enriching themselves. And where do they think they're going to go? Right. We're at 300 people live. I think we should be up around 400 people live. So let's share that internet address and let's move on with more questions. Mr. Uman, who is next? And we got Big Dan, the man, Erickson, with a $10 super chat. Thank you for helping keep the lights on and keep tuna fish and spam in my pantry in the old bunkaroo. So Big Dan says, also bought 100 shares of Tesla stock in December of 2022 for $125 a share. Done good with that, I'd say so, and should have bought more Costco stock back in the day. Who knew? And that's just it. Who knew, Dan? Did you think it was going to be Tesla? Rivian? Who was going to make the best EV? The one that take off? The one that is most features and the best value, yada, yada, most reliable? Who is going to, what company is going to turn around and invest in the infrastructure to make those EVs go? Turns out it was Tesla. Great move, right? That would be our good friend Elon Musk and all of his enterprises, from his batteries to solar to his space program to his satellite internet, all of that, right? But other companies as well. Let's talk about Amazon. Who knew? Who knew? The dot-com bubble burst. Amazon stayed on. It grew. We've got all of these companies that have taken off, right? Same with NVIDIA. We've got these companies that just took off. Well, how could we know that it would go from a $10 stock to a $1,000 stock and do a stock split? And then you get more shares and the value goes up again, and they do more splits and it goes up again. You become more and more wealthy. Well, if I told you that, well, you're not just going to go up 10%, but you could go up 100 to 300% on silver in the next 12 months. Some people are calling for more, right? And it's just, how do you know what's happening? Well, there's historical landmarks and precedents that you can look to understand what's going to happen to protect your wealth and your assets and put yourself, well, in front of the wave so you can ride the wave like a surfer rather than being drowned when it crashes on you. Or you could say, why are you chasing after the bus? You should be at the bus stop, silver and gold in hand, get on the bus, and you go with it. You rise with it. The same way, right? Tesla was small and grew. Amazon was small and grew. NVIDIA was small, and over the years and years has grown. We're now at a point in the market, as supported by chart strategy, history, international monetary and trade policy, right? Everything is pointing to gold and silver going up. And whether you buy the physical metal or you take a chance and you buy into the mining sector, gold mines and silver mines, like if a silver mine is productive and profitable at $30 an ounce, well, now that silver is $60 an ounce, shouldn't that silver miner be just cash rich? Because, well, $30 an ounce, well, the cost of mining went up a little with inflation, but silver has doubled this year. So the value of mines has gone up, and it's going to keep going up. It's just riskier. Which mines? How do you know? There's a lot more research there. Still, keep it simple. Paper stock doesn't do you any good, right? Owning this, market crashes, doesn't hurt me a bit. They confiscate all the dollar bills. This is still 1 ounce of silver, right? So it's protecting yourself. If you don't hold it, you don't really own it. So that's why I'm very cautious when I talk about ideas that I think are sound, but I am not a financial investment advisor. I'm not any of those people with lots of fancy letters after their name. I'm just John, right? But I think that since I've been telling people to buy silver or look at silver and gold since 2016, October of 2016, back when silver was $17 an ounce, and it even dropped down to about 12 for a little while. Imagine buying a shit pile of silver at $12, and now it's 5 times. It's 500%. In any event, let's see what Uman says. He says, we just did that with silver in the last year. Gold in the last 2 years. Hope it happens again next year and keeps going. Rough for folks like my boys just trying to get into it now. Well, and that's just it. The scary part, and I think a notable billionaire in the precious metals and mining industry, Rick Rule, interesting cat. I've learned a lot from him and others like David Morgan and Doug Casey and Michael Oliver and Andy Scheckman, right? Lots of people to learn from. I've been learning for 9 years now, just immersed in all of this, trying to understand it and where to take care of my family, trying to take care of my family's assets as well. I call that the, my home office or my hedge fund, my family's wealth. In any event, right? What kind of world is it going to be if gold goes from $1,800, like when Big Dan the Man bought his, to $18,000? Is that the world you want to live in? So basically his thing was be careful what you wish for, because if you get $18,000 gold, when you open your door, you might see a lot of things on fire and people getting shot, right? SHTF. Now, be that as it may, whether gold goes from 18 to 3,600 to 5,400 an ounce, or whether it goes to 18,000 an ounce. Look, if silver goes from 20, which was what it was paid for when silver is $20 an ounce, it's at 60, it's tripled. Well, let's just say it were to go 10 times higher, $600 an ounce. Well, whether or not I have any silver doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether I have 1 or 10 or 100. It just doesn't matter, because what's happening outside that door is happening anyway. So I may as well have put my money in a safe place. Yeah, you may not like the world if silver goes to 160 or 600, or gold goes to 6,000 or 16,000. But if you've got your money protected, your wealth, you've got food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. Nobody's going to like that world, but at least you have the satisfaction knowing you did everything you could to prepare yourself. You've got 3 months of food, 6 months of food, or a year's worth. Your family's safe. You've got some close friends. They're all preppers with you. You become friends with other preppers. You have a defensive strategy to help protect yourselves. You're protecting your wealth. You have the ability to grow a garden. You have the ability to get fresh water that's safe to drink, right? You know how to defend yourselves with pew-pews. That's all you need. We can't choose. You and I can't fix anything. So I understand Rick Rule's premise. Don't wish for $10,000 or $100,000 gold or $1 million gold, because that world is going to be jacked up. At the same time, if you've got $100,000 in the bank in cash and the system collapses, gold goes crazy, banks are folding, crashing, confiscating wealth, you're fucked anyways. May as well at least turn your wealth into something useful, like food, means of water production, clothing, defense, right? Take care of yourselves. That's what I'm saying. I'd rather have gold and silver and all my preps than none of it. And, $20,000 in my bank. So I feel rich, but that can be just taken away or devalued overnight. At an act of tax collecting patriotism, I am sacrificing my wealth for the good of the common scumbag American invader. Good golly. All right, Mr. Uman, where shall we roll next? Everybody, if you're here, be sure you're a subscriber or you can't comment. It takes It takes 5 minutes. You got to be a subscriber 5 minutes before you can comment. Super chat button is right up there, and that's how you get on the screen here. I got a $10 Venmo from Mr. Wile E. Coyote, super genius. And he says, U.S. people are in desperation mode. Things are far worse than we know. Are we in the dark winter? Like, our buddy Biden spoke about in 2020. Love you, brother. And the R Syndicate. That's right. The R Syndicate was started by Backcountry Preppers / Arizona Unplugged. The Kaz man, who is now the Italian hillbilly, Uman, and myself. That's the R Syndicate. rsyndicate.com is the super prepper channel that Mr. Uman handles. There it is. And that will help you find what you need, whether it's food or water or how to grow things, garden, can, defense, anything prepping, patriotism, survival, rsyndicate.com. Okay, back to Mr. Wile E. Coyote. He says the U.S. people are in desperation mode. I agree. Car repossessions are going up. Late payments on cars is going up. Housing, people are getting behind on their housing payments. Foreclosures are going up. It smells like 2007, 2008 all over again. Now, the last model they used was bail out the banks, do quantitative easing, which is money printing to flood the system, the economic financial system, with money to keep all the businesses and wheels turning, right? Except you and I, the American people, were given the tax bill for that, while the banks just kept making money. They got all that cash, and the government paid them interest on the cash they held. They were told to loan it to you and me, but they didn't. They just held on to it and enriched themselves. Once again, it's another screw job. We all got fucked. Things are far worse than we know. I think next Wednesday we have an FOMC meeting. The Chief Goon Powell, Jerome Powell of the Federal Reserve, they're going to have a meeting. The wisdom, the common wisdom, the common thought is they're going to lower the interest rates again. Well, if the economy is so strong and things are so great, why do we need to do that? Because the economy is not that strong. Things are not that great, and people are in desperation mode. And it's not just cars. It's not just homes. It's the ability to pay their credit card debt. Finding a job that pays. Inflation is much, much steeper than they admit. People are messed up. Now, the dark winter Biden spoke about, well, that was everybody dying, my good friend. The dark winter, the winter of death, was because everybody who didn't get the Jim Jones juice was going to die, right? Only the people that got jabbed, only those people were going to live. And now vaccine injury is everywhere. Doctors are admitting it. Patients are admitting it. Jab supporters, people that thought the jab was great, they're coming down with continuous, extensive, worsening vaccine injuries. Not to mention all the fucking people that just died and are continuing to die and then die some more. It's not stopping. It just isn't. That's the dark winter. That truly is the dark winter. If it's going to be dark for anyone, it's going to be people who poison themselves. Literally poison themselves. Okay. Where are we going to go next? Good golly. Bioxo77. Hey, he checks in with a $4.99 super chat donation. Thank you for the great support of the channel. And he says it's time to storm the Bastille and bring back the guillotines and the catapults. Well, the guillotine, even though you spelled it the American way, is used to remove the heads of politicians, aristocrats, kings, bankers, whoever needs to have their head severed from their body. That's what the French did in their revolution because they got tired of the government, the King Louis, and his twat of a wife. They were literally starving the people while they lived the life of opulence, luxury, and comfort. Oh, and storming the Bastille was the French people going to the prison known as the Bastille. They went to the prison, they overpowered all the prison guards and released all the prisoners, because people that were held in the Bastille were not murderers, they were political prisoners. So yes, time to storm the Bastille. I cannot say those words because that would make me, well, I'd be promoting violence. Ooh. And I'm not doing that, nor will I. What I will say is when it is time to storm the Bastille, you will know it. Whether it's a county jail, a state jail, federal jail, wherever they're hiding and holding political prisoners, people will probably let them out. Murderers, on the other hand, they may get some swift leticillin to solve their problems. As far as guillotines and catapults, well, I mean, are we going to use the catapults to launch people over the wall and out of the country? But the catapult is an ancient weapon, a simple weapon, a common man's weapon. We're going to be fighting not so simple of a war. It's not just going to be, well, it won't be bows and arrows. It won't be catapults. And it's not just going to be rifles, handguns, and shotguns. Nor will it be jets and tanks and maybe even nukes. It's going to be more than that. The revolution that could break out if these rich, sick, twisted, evil bastards don't pack their shit and run away, we're going to end up with financial war, trade war, commodities war, banking war. It is already a psychological warfare battlefield. It's already there. In fact, I believe the nation of Israel has already committed several $1 billion to their internet, social media battlefield plan for next year. Just for next year. They're going to spend that much money trying to convince the world to keep supporting Israel and giving money to them. It's funny, they're going to spend $1 billion to get $5 billion. That's pretty good return on investment for them. All they got to do is learn how to lie beautifully to everybody. Woo! Here we are. Anyways, thank you, Mr. Biaxo. It will be time, and when it is time, you will know it. I won't need to say a fucking word. You'll just know because you'll see what's going on. But understand this, folks. Things get dicey. Things get out of hand. The violence starts. We get another summer of love, say, like we had in 2020. The police are not going to be there for you. The sheriffs will not be there for you. The state troopers will not be there for you. The National Guard is not going to be there for you. You will be on your own. So in addition to having lead, bullets and guns, I recommend you own several good shovels because you're going to have to put the bodies somewhere. Let us move on if we shall. Mr. Uman, who's up next on the Prepared Mind channel? And it is Kim in Wisconsin who asks, is Trump doing it to show how gone and corrupt courts and judges are? The question is, it's a great question. Thank you, Kim. Is Trump allowing these judges to screw with him and then having to go to court? And is he allowing judges to overrule him and to make decisions and the bureaucracy to get out of hand in the FBI and the CIA? Are they just doing whatever they want, hiding information, obfuscating information, killing witnesses, keeping people locked in prison? Is he doing this just to show how bad the system is? If that's the case, what's the solution once everyone understands? So let me rephrase it a little bit this way. If we look at everything, Kim, the Democrats know they're fucking cheating, lying, thieving, corrupt pieces of shit. They know it. They told us back in 2020 they're going to lie, cheat, and steal. And that was the head of the Democrat Party in Colorado. And they did lie, cheat, and steal. They know, the Democrats know how gone and corrupt everything is. They just want to control it if they can get this Constitution thing out of their way. That's their problem, is getting the Constitution out of the way. Now, so the Democrats know, all of the hardcore truthers, patriots, veterans, intelligent business people on the Republican side, we know as well. Now, there are some dumbass Democrats. There are some uneducated Republicans not paying any attention. There are a lot of independent people out there who don't believe in anything except, well, waiting to the last second and joining the winning side, right? So I'm going to say that 1/3 of the country, the Democrats, know what's going on, how gone and corrupt it is. 1/3 of the Republicans, or 1/3 of the population that are Republicans, know how gone and corrupt the courts and judges and government and the money, everything's gone. So literally, we all know. They know we know they know. What's Trump going to do? Will all of a sudden the legislature do their fucking jobs? All of a sudden, will the judges just stop being assholes and do their jobs? Miraculously, will the bureaucracy and law enforcement do their jobs and fully respect the Constitution, our rights, and start arresting illegals and criminals in government? No. Is Trump going to pull a Führer moment and declare Congress out of the way and the judges out of the way and rule the country as a dictator, using the military and the National Guard as his Gestapo and his SS? No, I don't think the country would stand for that. So if Trump is doing it to show us how gone and corrupt it all is, not just courts and judges, but everything, Kim, well, we're all awake now. We've all seen it. We all get it. What's next? And that's where I become very disappointed, because I don't know what the plan could be. If Trump wants to be a dictator like Hitler or Stalin or Chairman Mao or anyone, no one's going to allow that. They're not going to like that. They're not going to fall for it. Are the Democrats going to try a literal coup d'etat and have part of the military try and take out Trump, so the other part of the military fights the military? Now we do have a civil war, literally. And then on the streets, we get into our partisan war as part of the Civil War effort. When all that's done, who are you going to trust? You just got pulled over. Was that a Democrat or a Republican cop? You go to court. Is that a Republican judge or a Democrat judge? Are you going to allow yourself to be arrested? Are you going to allow yourself to stand in front of a fucking judge who you don't know the answer to the question and what he's going to do with you? Right? That's the scary part. There's no guarantee on any of this, Kim. So the best you can do is pay very close attention, be fully prepared, and understand and be honest with yourself. I think Trump may have at one point been showing the world how corrupt the system is. And maybe now he's scratching his head going, holy fuck, it is so far worse. There's no draining the swamp. Washington, D.C. is not a swamp you can drain. Our government is a fetid cesspool and swamp. All the branches of government are filled with anti-American, selfish, corrupt pieces of shit. And yeah, it trickles down into the states. And the states all have their problems. And cities have their problems. It's a mess. So please get prepared, understand where we're at and where this is leading. Hopefully, folks, someplace good. Once again, we have a great example of a country that's been turned around. It's a small one, but it's a model that has worked nonetheless. And that is, again, El Salvador. They arrested their judges, threw them fucking out. And if they're criminal, they went in prison. They took all the criminals off the street, literally captured them all, and put them in nasty, filthy, overcrowded prisons that no one likes. And they're breaking big rocks into little rocks. They're being put to work. They have to grow their own food and take care of themselves, all under a heavy militarized watch. Criminals, no one wants to be one. In America, we need a penal system. We need a punishment system. Treason gets executed. Sedition should be executed. Everyone else, you're going to fucking jail. And you're going to stay there. And you will grow your own food in jail. And you will earn your keep in jail. No sitting in jail, educating yourself so you can sue the government and take taxpayer money. None of that bullshit needs to stop. But it's going to be one hell of a battle and fight, Kim, and for everyone else. So get prepared, because I don't see an easy way out of this. This country needs to, and hopefully someone in government lets us know, folks, we are fucked. We're now at that point where everyone realizes it. This is the course of action we're going to take, and it's going to be 10 years of hardcore bullshit and fighting to get our country back on the right track. There's no magic light switch you flip, and it's fixed. Thank you, Kim. Mr. Uman, where shall we roll next? On the Prepared Mind channel, Sunday Night Live. We're 90 minutes in, and Northern Pike is back with a $5 super chat hat trick donation. He says, my uncle, who fought, it looks like, at the Battle of the Bulge in World War II, was a prisoner of war. He was later honored by Trump in 2017 before his death. Now, that is incredible that he was able to live being a World War II veteran. Before his death, he was honored with 2 Bronze Stars, a Purple Heart, and honored. It's part 2, Mr. Uman. Honored as the 1942 Space Force through 75 engineer. Told me in 1984, your heart is in a good place. It'll always be a good God's heart. It's all God's heart. All right. So thank you, one, for sharing that with us. I really appreciate hearing that, you know, someone in your family patriotically fought the evil, the Nazis, right? Battle of the Bulge was the last big defense that the German army put up against the Allied forces on the Western Front. Before that front fell, and then it was a race to Berlin. You know, where I'm going to go with this is, he fought like that. Everyone's families fought. Mine fought in the Pacific Theater. Of course, being West Coast, they tended to go that way. But would they have fought the Japanese? Would they have fought the Nazi military? Would they have struggled through the Cold War against the Soviets? The space race, right? The nuclear arms race, the atomic age. Would they have fought if they knew that 80 years later, right, the end of World War I, 1945, 80 years later is 2025. Would they have fought that hard, risked everything, knowing that this country, its politicians, have let in 25 million illegal aliens on top of the other 25 million that had already snuck in on their own, and that this government is turning the country over to them and giving away their money, their descendants' money, their families' money, the national treasure, handing it over to these fucking losers? Would your uncle, my grandfather, all these people that fought, my great-grandfather, great-great-great-uncle fought in World War I, would they have fought all those battles, all those wars, struggle after struggle, decade after decade, paying taxes, putting up with shit, going to work, everything, knowing that a bunch of fucking pedophiles were running this country and the economic and banking systems, and that a country like Israel and its intelligence services were working with America and its intelligence services to control politicians and judges and businessmen? No, the answer is fuck no. We wouldn't have fought that hard. They wouldn't have fought that hard, knowing that it's just going to be given away to a bunch of pedophiles and people with Middle Eastern religions who have no care in the world for the lives of others and hate Christians, hate Americans, and call for the death of America within our own borders. That these scumbags would be elected to political positions, then to insult us and tell us that we don't belong in our own country, and tell us that they're going to kick us out of our country or kill us, that they're going to make us submit to their religion and their false bullshit gods, their satanic evil ways. No, they wouldn't have. I don't know what they would have done because it wasn't that bad back then. Sure, there were bad people around and in charge and doing things, but today, government is openly selling us down the fucking river. They're selling us into slavery, giving us away as sex toys to their freakish masters. Oh, it's a bitch. In fact, I just got one quick question. What the hell is blood libel? Right? Israelis are now saying that if you say anything and criticize them, it's a blood libel. Does that mean some asshole foreign anti-American can just jihad my ass? Or some Israeli can ruin my life because they got their panties bunched up because somebody criticized them? Right? Are United States politicians going to use this claim of blood libel to pass bullshit laws, censor speech? You see, right now, calling people racists or homophobes or Islamophobes or anti-Semites is not having the effect it used to. People are exhausted of it. We don't care anymore. I'm not going to worship you, Israel, or you bunch of jihadi fucksticks, because you say so and you threatened me, or you think you can have my life canceled. Fuck you people. Blood libel. I guess when anti-Semite doesn't work, now they make a threat. Is that like fighting words? I'm going to take your blood because you slandered or libeled us? It's a fucking country. You can say whatever you want against Italy, Spain, France. They're countries. Israel's a country. Fuck you guys. Blood libel my ass. The world bled the ground red. Fucking waves in Normandy, World War II, were bled. The men were bled. It was red. The water was fucking red from so much blood in it. So many people died on D-Day. And these fucking people want to complain that they haven't gotten enough, that they're not getting enough submission, that people aren't kissing their ass. All these Muslims, all these Israelis, done. Don't care anymore. Call me what you want. I don't care. You don't own me. You don't own me. You don't own me or this country. This is not Israel. This is not Qatar. This is not any Muslim country. It's certainly not Somalia. It's not Pakistan. It's not India. None of you fucking people belong here because you don't assimilate. You don't understand. You don't care. All you want is death and destruction, and fuck you people. Awful people, folks. Our ancestors would have never tolerated this shit. So why are we? Well, because they've incrementally conditioned us, tried brainwashing us, tried indoctrinating us, tried scaring us. And man says they're committing legal piracy. Now, there's a couple of terms in 4 words. That's quite a statement, Mr. Uman. I will address it. They is Islam. They is Israel. They is our own government. Piracy on the water, right? Piracy is taking people's property on the water. Okay, well, piracy on the land. By any name, it's still piracy. One group of people is using force, fear of force, terrorism, war, to take people's treasure. Booty, right? Pirates. The word legal here is most interesting. What they're doing is legal. There's a distinction, though, between lawful and legal. You'll hear me use the word legal. You'll hear me use the word lawful. The law is the Constitution. That's the law of the land. Statutes, regulations, ordinances are not law. Those are statutes. They create a legal requirement for certain things to happen. Paying taxes, they wrote a statute that says you and I have to pay taxes. So that is legalized theft or piracy, if you will, because they don't just say you have to give us money. They show up and put a gun to your head and go, boink, boink, boink. Hey, if you don't pay your taxes, we're going to shoot you. We're going to put you in prison. That's legalized theft. It's legalized piracy, taking our property, taking our businesses, taking our country, taking our government functions. It is all legalized, but it has nothing to do with the law of the land. It is all in violation of our Constitution. It's important to note the difference between legalized theft and piracy and lawful action. Have a copy of the Constitution, folks, because if all hell breaks loose, we're going to need to put this country back together, and our rights are going to have to once again be first and foremost. Right? Our right to privacy, completely ignored now. Free speech, completely ignored now. Right? Second Amendment, they would like to stop it, but they can't. That's what's going to protect us most. All right, Mr. Uman, where shall we roll next? We've got, bump up, drum roll, brrr, Big Dan the Man with a $20 super chat donation. And this is interesting. He says, the political spectrum I find fascinating is after slow Biden won in 2020, how many Republicans were arrested? And after all that, when Trump won in 2024, how many Democrats have been arrested? Less than 10. Spineless. That is correct. Absolutely spineless. You asked the question, how many Republicans were arrested? Thousands. Thousands of Republicans were arrested. Anyone having anything to do with anything on January 6th. You didn't have to be walking inside Congress. You didn't have to be up there smashing glass. You just had to be literally in Washington, D.C. And they came to your house. They temporarily detained people to question them, oftentimes leading them off to arrest, showing up with guns and pointing them at women, children, infants in cribs, harassing people. People like Tina Peters. She wasn't the only one. In Arizona, in Georgia, Republicans arrested. Hell, they arrested Sidney Powell, attorney. They arrested Rudy Giuliani. And people want to say, oh, we can't be like them. They've set the fucking precedent. Except what they did is they just arrested people because it appeared to Democrats that they didn't like what they did. There's no claim of a crime being committed. Unbelievable. This is unbelievable, yes. Now, it's spineless. Why is that? Why is it incredible? Because, well, less than 10 Democrats have been arrested, and none of them are serious big players. They're not the top dogs. They're not the powerful, the uber elite. They need to be arrested. Where is the deterrent? Right? What are the levels of deterrence to get people to behave properly? You have a law in place that people go, oh, I'll follow the law. If they refuse to follow the law and break the law, you can be arrested. Then you will be tried. Then you'll go to prison if you're found guilty. See, all those are levels of deterrence to help keep a civilized society, a civilized nation. If nobody is going to be arrested for violating the law like the Democrats did, then there's no penalty. There's no reason to be law-abiding. There's all the reason in the world to become criminal. And that's where we're at. No one's being arrested. And folks, it wasn't just January 21st. Trump is in office. So now we can start compiling various facts and cases against these fucking criminals. That is incorrect. Absolutely the wrong way to look at it. We have seen lawlessness, folks, for decades, but especially from Trump's first presidency, and certainly from the 2020 election, massive election fraud, lying, right? Every law enforcement officer out there arresting people unlawfully, these scumbag FBI agents who have harassed Americans, harmed Americans, assaulted Americans, all of them need to be arrested because the evidence is there. It exists. What Comey did, what Obama did, what Hillary did, what Schumer did, what Pelosi did, what Holder did, what Rice did. All of them. Ilhan Omar married her own fucking brother and has committed fraud literally over 6 different ways. She went from having no money to having millions and millions and millions of dollars. Did you know that the average IQ of a Somali, do you know what that is? Literally, do you know what the average IQ of a Somali is? It's like 66, 67. Literally. Oh, wait. I just found a piece of information. It's down in the 60s. The average IQ score meets the U.S. standard for intellectual disability, meaning they're scientifically rated, not just some made up number, not just some shit. It's a science to measure the ability to think, rationalize, and make good decisions. They're retarded. But now Ilhan Omar has millions and millions and millions of dollars. She's the one exception to these fucking people who are scientifically rated as they're not a race. They're an ethnicity from a certain area of the planet that is fucking inbred beyond measure. And they're retarded. But all of a sudden, she's a genius, huh? They all should be arrested. Yeah, the Democrats, at least the Democrats are willing to fucking fight for what they believe. The Republicans in Washington, D.C., as I pointed out, and I need to make this clear, they're in power. They have the majorities, so why aren't they doing what they're supposed to? Because they are better at being losers than leaders. They would rather, if they're given the power as the majority, they don't want to do anything. They don't want to make anyone mad in DC. They know Washington, DC is absolutely corrupt and criminal everywhere. Elected officials, bureaucrats, staff, law firms, other countries. Yeah, you know who they are, that are over here interfering in our government. Whether it's England or Israel or Ukraine, it don't fucking matter. They're all criminals. So the Republicans are like, we don't want to make any waves, man. We're just going to pretend like we're in charge, and then we're going to lose gracefully, and then we're going to cry we're victims and we can't do anything about it. And they want to give power back to the Democrats, to these retards. By the way, retards are violent by nature. Violent by nature. They don't have the ability to work through problems intellectually. So instead, they react violently because that's the only way they see themselves getting out of the troubles they're in. And those who are attacked by them, we're all going to be forced to be violent in self-defense. And I'm talking about the Muslims. I'm talking about any country, any Middle Eastern religion that's here that believes it's superior to Christianity, to the American value system, to our Constitution. We're going to be forced to defend ourselves against their violence. So we either become violent, and I'm not calling for violence, I'm saying we will have to become violent or they're going to defeat us. It would be better now if we deport them now, or we're going to have to fight them and deport them later. My suggestion, though, is to be patient, but also be prepared. Be prepared for what's coming. We have a lot of low IQ people and a lot of people who think they're just intelligent, and they're not. They are slime bags and scum, and that's Washington, D.C. I just don't have any respect for them anymore, folks. They've had every opportunity to fix their problems. We pointed it out. Reads a lot like the Declaration of Independence. All right. Mr. Uman. We got Kim in Wisconsin back. She writes, if a plane does not fly, it cannot spread poison. If a boss is bad, he can be fired. If bad guys are in tanks underground, do not let them out. To let this keep happening, expecting change, is that not insanity? When strong men and women rise and stand for humanity, weak men and women will crumble and fall. Then we win. Keep the faith. I love you all. Amen. I'm going to give you a big amen to that. Here's the deal. You're absolutely right. Can we go back to the beginning of this there, Mr. Uman? Right. The plane flying and spreading poison, that's a reference to the geoengineering that's going on with the chemtrails. I would like to see those planes permanently and terminally grounded. I think anyone that works for those companies or pilots those planes and works on those systems supplies those chemicals, even those nanoparticle chemicals. I think those companies that produce those nanoparticle metals and chemicals, they should be, they should be found and incarcerated. Yeah, bad bosses should be fired. People that want to hide underground while we're suffering up here, they're going to have to come out of their holes eventually. If you can keep them locked in and let them meet their fate there, fine. If they want to come out, we're going to know who they are. I said this before and I'll say it again. Take notes on who the bad guys are and their names. Find their addresses so we have them. Ultimately, in the future, if we win our country back, we're going to have living amongst us, whoever is left alive, these traitors. And you know what they'll do? They'll change their names. They'll change their identity. They'll work out a deal where they move from here to over there and then pretend like they had nothing to do with those other problems. Right? They'll try to become anonymous and then step back into control and power. We need to remember who they are, their names, and their faces. And, heaven forbid we go through this SHTF. They ought not be allowed to live. Any of these people, any of these evil people, these Bill Gates types, these Mark Zuckerberg types, these Federal Reserve types, these Wall Street types. And yes, expecting change while doing the same thing again and again is the definition of insanity. What are we doing again and again? We are continuing as, shall we say, strong American men and women. We're continuing to try and vote our way out of a problem that cannot be solved with votes. It's only going to be solved with bullets. And unfortunately, combined with bullets are going to probably be chemical, nuclear, and biological weapons and every other manner of warfare against us. I was thinking about reading a portion of the Declaration of Independence, but I think you guys know where I stand on that. But we'll, of course, be talking about that again. What do we have out there? Mr. Uman, who is next? Bob Hunter with 10 pounds from Scotland. And he says the European Union should be renamed the George Soros, Bill Gates, and Lawrence Douglas Fink Foundation for War, Corruption, Theft, Corruption, and Malfeasance. I would love your thoughts, John, as usual. I'll tell you what, Bob, the European Union, you know how they do the map of the United States, and it's all red with some blue areas here and there just sprinkled in to show us where the Democrats are and where the Republicans are. Right? It's pretty obvious this country is largely Republican, with those Democrat areas where they cheat like a motherfucker. Now, someone showed the map of Europe, continental Europe from Russia all the way over to the tip of Portugal, as well as England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales. And it said, and here is Brussels, and it's boink, a little teeny dot. It's one city where the European Union is that maintains control now over Europe, the way Washington, D.C., one little dot controls the United States of America. People in Europe are waking up, folks. And yes, it is George Soros. It is Bill Gates. It is, the Finks. It is the World Economic Forum, a bunch of aristocratic fucksticks from European families that are still there. I think years ago I talked about this. The outright ownership and control by the kings and queens, the royals and the aristocrats. That would be your dukes and duchesses and counts and so on and so forth, right? Your earls and your other, aristocratic bastards. They all thought that they rule by divine right, that because of the blood that flows in their veins, their DNA that makes them superior to everyone else. Well, they had to give that up because the people had had enough of their shit, from the English to the French to other nations, saying, we're done. So these aristocrats said, hey, it's cool. You guys can rule each other as democracies and vote. And so those rich people stepped into the background. They started buying up corporations, controlling the banks, buying influence in the government. So now they control everything again, but it has the appearance that people vote for their governments, and their governments are doing everything they can, the exact opposite. It is the George Soros, Bill Gates, World Economic Forum, Lawrence Douglas Fink Foundation of war and bullshit. It is all corruption. It's theft. Now, someone might ask the question, and here we go, Bob. I'm going to take it down this little path here real quick. Why would these aristocrats, why would these rich fucks, why would these royal assholes risk losing their countries by inviting in millions and millions and millions of Muslims? Why would they do that? And these Muslims are raping girls, literally kidnapping and raping hundreds of thousands of girls over the last couple of years. Literally. Not just women, but little girls and boys. And they're cutting people's heads off and they're stabbing them. They're setting them on fire. They're running into crowds with their cars and trucks. They're attacking. It's fucking terrorism. It is a terrorist Muslim fucking takeover. They're praying in the middle of the streets, in the middle of businesses, everywhere they can to disrupt traffic, disrupt life, and create a feeling of dominance and ownership. Why would these rich fucks do that? Well, because they want all the white people dead. That's it. They want all the Europeans dead. You can be a black European and you're still white and they want to kill you. They want these third world scumbags there. You want to know why? Because after the third world scumbags kill all the people, they'll just kill the third world scumbags. Easy enough. But see, right now we're being invaded by an enemy that we're not allowed to fight. The enemy has attacked us, threatened us, wants to kill us, Bob. But we can't do anything to them. You know, over there in Scotland, fucking England, you even complain about government policy or these foreigners, they'll come and arrest you. If you don't call some faggot the pronouns that he claims are his, you can be thrown in jail for life, like that Enoch fella. A teacher refuses to say they, them as the pronouns for some fruitcake, and he is now going to jail for life. So unless you fight back at a time now, we're all going to lose. Same with the United States of America. It has begun over here. They're claiming and telling us, all these Muslims, that they're going to control us. Meanwhile, the elites think they're going to live and that they'll have the military to actually control all of the camel jockeys and all these other fuckers because they're superior. They want to kill us off so they can be the only light-skinned people in charge. They're not worried about themselves. King Charles, who is, in my opinion, a convert to Muslims, to Islam, is allowing his country to be overrun. The entire United Kingdom to be overrun by these brown fucks. And he's good with it. They're not contributing. They're conquering. Profit and control of humanity and the destruction of Christ-loving souls. They are a death cult, John. Yes, they are, Bob. Bob also says, I want Scotland to be full of the Scottish. I want England to be full of the English, and I want Ireland to be full of the Irish. I want America to be full of the Americans, and I want Russia to be full of Russians. I concur. And every country in Europe should have its own people, its own culture, its own fucking languages, its own money, its own system. The only time this becomes a problem, Bob, is when these rich fucks that are in charge fuck it up and they have to go to war with someone else to blame them for the problems they themselves created. In the movie Braveheart, there's a scene where the King of England, King Edward, says the problem with Scotland is it's full of Scots. That's a fucking problem, not for the Scots. It's a problem for the English. America is full of Americans, and that's the fucking problem. Russia is full of Russians, but Russia is not full of Muslims killing Russians and threatening to take over, and the government of Russia is not allowing it. Whereas England, Scotland, Ireland, America, and all of Europe. All the governments are allowing us to be invaded and allowing them to take over. Russia is not. We need to kick these fucking people off of our land. As far as I'm concerned, it is holy land. Whether we're talking about Scotland or Ireland, England or America or Canada or Mexico, these are our countries, not theirs. But here we are. If there's one thing that never changes, is the fact that things always change. The one consistency is that things are inconsistent and always change. All right, let us continue if we shall. We got Northern Pike with a $5 super chat donation, and he writes, satire, a catapult handy to get car kisses that don't value its life. Oh, yes. Oh, my. Yeah, a catapult to launch people over the wall, right? Yeah, for people that don't value our lives, if someone doesn't value the life of an American or a European, they don't understand the medical costs to birth them, the food, the cost of shelter, the cost of education, the cost of training, to have a human being go from a zygote to an infant, to a teen, to an adult, to a contributing member of that nation, adding to its value by applying skill and technique and power and intelligence. These fucking worthless third world Middle Eastern religion people have no value at all except they're thieves and murderers. They think their life is equal to ours. In fact, to go a little further, Israelis think that their lives are better than anyone else's. Hell, if you say all children deserve to live, including Palestinian children, well, that's a blood libel against Israel. You're an anti-Semite. You're a racist. No. They're the fucking racists by saying that they're better than everyone else. Really? They weren't even a country before 1948. They had to steal a country to become a country in 1948. The Jews coming out of Europe in 1948 were basically refugees who just went to Palestine. The Palestinians let them in, and the next thing they know, they're getting fucking murdered by the Israelis. Unfucking believable. They try to pillage you and understand how much you value yours. Yeah, they don't understand. They want to pillage us, but they don't understand the value we place on ourselves and others who have worked hard, educated, the cost of living, all this stuff. Life has value. I noted back in 1981 when I was a kid, 6th grade, just then learning about terrorism. And I thought, geez, these people do not value life. Blood has no meaning to them other than to be sacrificed. I was a kid, 11 years old, going, these people don't value life. Therefore, their lives are valueless. Because they think everyone's the same as them. Our life has value. Theirs doesn't. They're willing to kill themselves to kill us. Wow. Anyways, thank you, Northern Pike, for the great support. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Yeah, they'll launch their carcasses is right. That's probably one of the nicer things that could happen to these fucking people. Okay, Mr. Uman, where are we at, dude? We've got Chin Music, who's, by the way, we're going to end the show on this. It's a Glenfiddich 18. Chin Music has done a $55.56 super chat donation. And that's a good thing, my friends. It's $50 plus a 556, one of my favorite numbers. Thank you, Mr. Chin Music. I hope all is well, brother. Mother's milk. Chin Music says, I'm shocked no one in Minnesota has been arrested. Strongly worded letter is coming in. I'm going to tell you what, Chin, there has been an egregious amount of lawlessness in Minnesota. Let me detail it here, if I shall. The election, bullshit. Many districts in Minnesota have more votes cast than there are people registered to vote. How the fuck is that possible? Number 2, Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, failed vice presidential candidate, Twinkle Toes, Tampon Timmy, has been charged by his own bureaucracy. Over 400 people have joined a website and complained that Tim Walz is responsible for conspiring to commit fraud against the government and people of the state of Minnesota to the tune of billions of dollars, absolutely absconded with, stolen, corruption. The Somalians in Minnesota, one couple or one group, 2 of them, were charged with stealing, was it $7 million? Found guilty by a court, a jury, and the judge said, nope, jury doesn't get to decide. I am now the God. I am Judge God, the little bitch that she was, and she threw everything out. Minnesota, the Somalians there, all claim that they're autistic, that they've got medical problems. So they have lifetime Social Security disability benefits. They're not even fucking Americans. And they're collecting infinite cash on your salary, on all of us. We're all paying for it. This is fucking Minnesota. Just like Shiloh Hendricks, the white blonde mom with child who is being harassed by a Somali child and another jackass Somalian who was harassing her while the little one was trying to steal from her. He was going after her, pissing her off and attacking her verbally. She finally flipped him off, called him a nigger, and that was the end of it, right? Oh no, they're going to arrest the white girl, the white American, for having to defend herself from being threatened and followed and harassed and then threatened some more by this guy. And just this weekend in Wisconsin, we had a Cinnabon lady who was being harassed and sexually harassed by 2 Somalis because she was white and an American, and she wasn't wearing a head covering, a hijab. She finally got so fucking pissed off, she flipped them off, she called them niggers, and everyone throwing a giant fit. Cinnabon filed her. They've already raised $110,000 or more for her through Give, Send, Go or some kind of fundraising thing, because this is what they're doing. They're corrupt. They harass people. They get them fired. They steal from them. They attack them. They are a bunch of worthless, low IQ, fucked up users. Folks, Barack Hussein, Barry Soetoro Obama dropped, was it 600,000 Somalis right in the middle of Minnesota? And like a big sack of gooey shit, it is just running all over the state to new areas. They are doing everything they can to have as many children as they can, as fast as they can, so they can bring up their population number and vote everyone else out of power, then slam everyone with Islam and Sharia law and legalizing, well, kidnapping, rape, etc., etc., etc. This is what they do. This is where they're at. This is who they are. This is what's happening. I'm sorry for the aggressive N-word, but this is what they're doing. They are pissing people off so bad, attacking them, ruining their businesses. And by the way, fuck Cinnabon. Fuck them. Because they did not defend an American. They should have said, yeah, what she said was really wrong. That is not what we want. She's going to go to sensitivity training for making a racial slur describing these fucked up Somalians. But we're not going to allow our employees to be attacked, verbally harassed and sexually harassed and intimidated and threatened by these people who are not Americans. I mean, they could have done that. And we would all cheer, yay, Cinnabon, way to stick up for your employees. No, instead they fired her and are rewarding these fucked up losers from another country. People are tired of it. The fatigue is real. Folks, Black Americans who are conservative, patriot, America firsters, strong thinking, intellectual, fucking smart people, not the 60 IQ morons that are out there of any color and any race, right? Anyone who is intelligent has a higher IQ. Anyone who's intelligent sees what's going on. The Black Americans who know what the fuck's going on and they see it, they're calling it for what it is. This is an invasion. They're trying to destroy our country. You need to get prepared. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. Thank you, Mr. Uman. Thank you, Chin Music. Woo! You've got to get prepared, folks, and understand no matter where you're at, there's going to be a legitimate threat, whether it's foreigners from another country, in our country, in your zone, college students who are corrupted, indoctrinated, brainwashed communists. You've got radical racist groups in this country that are nice low IQ, like the BLM types. They want violence. They want to overthrow everything. The LGBTQ pedophile crowds, they are violent and scumbags. Just the average Democrat, whether it's 4, 5, or 6 out of 10 that live around you. 4, 5, and up to 6 people that are around you are voting for the death of America and the destruction of this country. They've continued to vote for Democrats and continued to vote for Democrats and continued to vote for Democrats. Regardless, literally regardless of all common sense, intelligence, and understanding about what's going on. I want to thank everyone for supporting this channel, for not getting me overly drunk, giving me just enough scotch to keep everything going well. It's going to be a nice week. It is Christmas. It is the Christmas holiday season. It is a Christian holiday season. Understand, the bad guys don't like that, nor do they like you or me. Be very alert. Have some sort of self-defense, whether it's a gun, chemical, zapper / taser, whatever it takes. Be prepared to defend yourself and those you love. And above all, have love in your heart, but fire in your spirit to protect the United States of America and your life. Chance favors the prepared mind. Semper Fi.
Ho, 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 ho.